Hi guys, welcome back to Vroom Vroom. I'm Jay, and this is part 2 of the video where we're reassembling the fork on the ST1300. The first video, as I said at the end of it, took 50 minutes. That was the complete strip down of it. If you're a novice doing this job for the first time, then I would expect you to be able to do it in around that time with a basic set of tools. It's not an overly difficult job, but it is a little bit, can be a little bit fiddly, and we'll get to that bit in a moment when we're reassembling it. So I have ordered the parts, I've received them now, I've got them, so no reason to not crack on. So I'll be restarting the timer in a second. Right, very quickly while I remember, as I mentioned before, the top of the fork, you do need a 70mm Allen bolt, but what I done was I just squashed a couple of nuts onto the bolt, and then I used my impact driver and got it off. What I've also done is, because this is meant to be torqued when you do it back up again, and I don't think I'm going to be able to get a torque wrench in there, I've marked the top in 2 different places, so as long as I can start the thread in the same place where it came off, which is a big ask, but we'll see, that should be okay, and I should be able to put it back to exactly the same place where it was before it came off. Right, so moved over to my makeshift workbench. Just pushed the new seal over the top, and we're ready to go in. The inside has been cleaned meticulously. That's a word, yeah. Right, so all I've done is do up the drain bolt at the bottom. That's the 20 Newton meters. There's a new crush washer in there. I've seated the new one in here, and I've pushed it down as much as possible by hand. I've seen people do this in a variety of methods, but the way that I'm going to do it is by using the old seal just to help push it down. And I've got the seagulls. I've got the right tool as well, which is just like a round slide hammer. Just going to get it in as much as possible. Just hope this is the right size. Yep, good. Result in some jumpy camera angles. And that seems to have got it. So I'm just going to grab a small, it's coming out. And I can see the ridge where the clip goes in. Just don't think it's quite there on the left side. So off with the old seal, in with the circlip, and then we're about ready to refill with oil. Here's my clip. Excellent. Right, let's cover. Good job. Right, oil. Lots of stuff on the forums about the oil and how to do it. I think it was 640 cc's of oil that they said, and 62 mil from the top, or 64 mil. I'm going to go and check that out in a second. But that does mean that if you're doing it in that way, you're going to have to put something in the top to measure it, which is in this case going to be, I think I'm going to use a wooden skewer from like the barbecue, mark out with a pencil, and I'm going to do 2 marks on it, one at the 64 mil, 62, and the other one's going to be about 80, 90, just so I can get a feel for when it's almost there. And yeah, you have to have the spring out for this measurement, and all the air bubbles have to go as well. You have to excuse me, I've got a bit of a cold. So it's quite a straightforward process, but you do have to bring the damper up and down once you've got some oil in there, just to expel all of the air bubbles and ensure that you've got your spring back in the right way up. So that's the way it went in, so that's the way it's going to go back in. Take at the bottom. It's good, let's get some oil. Right, so it's 62 mil, so what I've done is, it's going to be hard for you to see this, but I've got my stick and I've got a mark at 62 mil, a mark at 80 mil. So I'll know when I start getting too close to the point. So that's it, ready. I've got an idea of how much oil to be putting in anyway, so I'll know when we're close to that point. And if I do go over, I can always just use my siphon tool and just get a little bit back out, so not overly concerned. So we are done. Right, so as you're going up and down with the damper rod, as it's sucking the oil into the chambers, it should start to feel a lot more resistance, which is what I've just got there. And that's a good sign, that's the oil filling up all of the places that you want it to go. Oh. Wow. Right, just going to use my measuring tool. Right, just for the final measurements, I've tied a bit of string to the damper so I can pull it out afterwards, but I was very close, so I'm just going to have a look and see. 62 mil. It's dry, and just the other side of the line. It's there. So I reckon that is absolutely spot on, which is good news. I'll try and undo the knot. there's lots of different methods of filling it up, but that one I think just suited the way that I wanted to do it. And some of the forums really were divided over it, so but you don't want to fall down the damper after all your hard work. Right, so that's it. Just bring it back in. Wash it back in. Sleeve back in. Right, so we need to tighten that up, so I'm going to grab a spanner. It's about 12mm, open end. Right, so when that's done, we're ready to put it together. Right, and that's not a million miles away from the marks I made before I took it off. So, right, just for reference, the top is meant to be 23 Newton meters. Torque it down. As I mentioned, it's going to be difficult for me, so I'm going to use my homemade tool. Tighten up as much as possible, and then once it's back in the bike and clamped, go for a final tighten. That's cool. Right, so with that, it's ready to go back. Right, so I'm not going to bore you with putting it all back together because it's the same as taking it off in reverse. But to let you know, the pinch bolts are 26 Newton meters, the caliper is 31 Newton meters, and the nut to hold the wheel on is at 78 Newton meters. So the fork is ready to go back in. Put it down there. I'll just cut in and out at certain points. Just keep you updated, but I'm not expecting any issues now. I'll get this in seated, done up, and then once I'm happy with it, I'll jump on with the other side. And of course, nearly made a little mistake. so I just want a little bit of bite on there so I can just check the top. Right, so for that particular fork, pinch bolts have been tightened up, 12mm, and so that's as far as I can go with this leg at the moment. So I'm going to crack on with this one. Right, so that's the other leg done. Use the opportunity to clean it up at the same time. Mudguard. Right, so mudguard done. All the auxiliaries connected to it are done. It's time for the wheel to go on. Just done a quick time check. I'm actually at 1 hour and 15 minutes for this reassemble. I started the clock again after I finished the other fork. So it's taken a bit longer than the strip down, but I've had a couple of interruptions, nothing too major, and I want to keep the timer as honest as possible. So that's what we're on now. I don't think this is going to take more than another 15 minutes to get the wheel on, but we'll see how we go. Those of you with eagle eyes may have noticed that I did make a fundamental error putting it back together, which was I put the mudguard on before the wheel, which meant I have been in the precarious position that I'm sure many of you have been before, where I was trying to jack the bike up high enough to get the front wheel in without it falling over. So trust me brothers, I feel your pain with that. That was a heart in the mouth moment. Even though it's tied, you still worry. I mean, it's a heavy bike, so it could have gone anywhere, but never mind, the wheel is in. So I'm just about to torque it up, stick the calipers on, get it out to a place where I can give it a good clean, and then take it out for a quick test ride. All done, back together, calipers are on, wheels done. We'll just take the jack out and then get it out for a clean and a test ride. Total time taking off what I was messing about today, I'd say 1.5 hours reassemble. So that'd make what, say 2.5 hours to get the job done from start to finish, which was not rushing, and it was a fairly basic process is the word. If you're thinking of doing this, yeah, just do it. It's not hard. It's a great thing to learn, especially from a novice point of view. So take it out. Hopefully it'll be great. I'm sure there'll be no reason why it shouldn't be. But that's it. So I hope you enjoyed this. And you know the process by now, guys. If you did enjoy the video, then please like and share and subscribe. It's really important to me. If you've got any comments, please just feel free to leave them, and we'll see how it goes. So that was part 2 of Fork Off, Fork On, ST1300 Pan-European. Until next time, take care.